Okay, so we've got the engine slung, two slings around here. So you got a bolt here, a nut down below. So those guys are inch, I think, and then these 2 1 1/8. One here on the front, and then there's a little guy in the top here. So 2 there, 2 in the sides. Everything's supported, and this hopefully just comes out decently. Okay, pulled her out. Went pretty smooth. So there is the back of the torque converter, where it bolts to the flywheel, and I'm going to put a piece of plywood over here to keep everything clean, and kind of button this thing up for the winter, I guess, kind of. And I got the block in my garage now. It's going to be much easier to work on it in the dry with light. We'll get into stripping that down, get into the machine shop, boring it, sleeving it, rebuilding it, reinstalling. Okay, starting to tear the motor down. I'm going to pop off the crank main belt drive first, pulley. So this guy's 1 1/8. So I put him on this big sucker bar here, gave it a whack with a hammer, pop that off, no problem. And then we got the washer out here. So you need a puller to get this off, and I got this little one, but it's actually made for a steering wheel and it wasn't big enough, and the bolts didn't fit. So I went ahead and just welded this guy up. So I just cut a piece off with the angle grinder, obviously, drilled a couple holes and just lined them right up. Then what I did is I put this guy back in. He's got to come out a hair more now, so I've already done this once. So pretty much he goes on there, leave a bunch of threads in, put this guy up, run 2 of the bolts in, back and forth, and it just pulls that forward. You can see back in there, it's already pulled it forward a bunch. So that'll pop off in a second, and then I can start taking the rest of this front plate off. All right, that worked pretty good. Pulled it forward, felt it pop. Just run it in with the impact gun. Takes a lot of time off your hands. There we go, and that's out. All right, so that's got a keyway in it. And there's the key. Okay, so I went ahead and I took out all the bolts around the outside there. And this guy here on the ledge is shorter. So he's shorter than all the rest of the bolts. So he's shorter, 1/2 inch. These are the 2 9/16 that hold in the power steering pump, like I said. And then I've got 2 that are like newer and a little bit bigger. And these guys went in here and here. And they had the nut on the back. And I think they were holding a bracket at some point. So the nut will go there. And there was a nut here. Or no, this one didn't have a nut on it, I think. Anyway. Put it back together the way it was. Right here, 2 9/16 bolts, bridges the block to the front cover there, so that's got to pop off first before you take that. Okay, a couple wiggles and popped her right off. There you go. There's the inside of the front cover there. Crankshaft coming off, driving sprocket, I guess you call it. And then there we go, we got the injector pump. Will be driven off there, and then this will be the cam on the right side that controls the lifters, that hits the rocker arm and then sets the valves. Okay, so I guess we'll be popping off this cog first and getting that injector pump out of the way, and start by taking that off. Or maybe I should check the tolerances first. Yeah, I saw something in the manual about gapping these gears right in here, so I'm going to grab the tools required and check those before I dismantle all this. See how it's looking? Cool. Any advice? Much appreciated. Alright, block is on the stand, and hard to see, but the main crankshaft does actually protrude slightly lower than this face here. So I got it up on some wood blocks just to keep it off so I can rotate that freely. And then Okay, so looking at it from the front here, we've got injection pump drive gear, camshaft drive gear, and then the camshaft gear beside that, and then of course the crankshaft drive gear right at the bottom here. So before I pull this apart, I want to check the backlash, which essentially is the, I guess the gap in between the gears. So the injection pump drive gear to camshaft drive gear, so right in between here can be 1 thou to, which is 0.001 to 0.012, and then the camshaft drive gear in the center in between there and the camshaft gear, and also in between the crankshaft drive. So this gap here and this gap here are the only other two. Both of those, the tolerances are between 1 thou and 9 thou, if that makes sense. Anyway, so you might have to trim your feeler gauges down as I did, and it wants you to check it at 4 points, so I just kind of rotated it around. I was able to slide it in well within the tolerances. Everything seems to be pretty tight, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the injection pump drive gear next and start disassembling, cleaning and inspecting all the teeth to make sure there's no problems with them. It says in the manual that superficial little nicks and stuff can be taken off with some emery cloth or something. So all right, moving along. Okay, injector pump drive gear, 3 1/2-inch little bolts that hold it in. 3 more 1/2 inches are going to hold it, the actual injector pump, to the side of the block there. And then this guy's got a little, he's got a little pin there on the back side that lines up in here, so it can only go on the one way. Next one was the camshaft drive gear. So there's a big 3/4 inch socket there, and this has like an oil raceway around this adapter, and then you can see there's 4 more little channels there where the oil can go, and that's gonna come out of these 2 little holes right here, keep everything lubricated. And then on the right we've got the camshaft gear, so that was a single 5/8, and then there's a little plate behind it with 2 more 1/2 inches, and that plate goes right here, covers up this bushing here. So the main shaft here, I'm gonna have to get a puller to get this crank gear off. And there's a key in here, and I'm not sure if that's normal, but the key is sitting out a little bit. This can still slide. This piece slides pretty easily, but it only goes to there. And I really don't want to hit it with a hammer or anything. I'm gonna get a proper puller and hook it on here, like the picture shows, and pop those guys off. And I'm gonna buy a dial meter as well, so we can check the run out on this flywheel. So we'll clip it on the edge up here somewhere, calibrate the dial, and then rotate this and see if we're true, I guess is the term, or within the tolerances set in the manual, and that'll be in the next video. If you guys have any tips on this guy, please let me know.